And yeah, Morgan commented saying that she loves all the faces. I definitely love all the faces on here. I'm so excited. I have my newbies on here and everything, so it makes me happy. Okay, so I'm not going to take the spotlight because most of you guys, y'all should hopefully know who I am. If not, that's okay. But I want to explain my story. The spotlight is all on you tonight, sis. So I actually met Micaela at the Winner's Circle this past year, and it was a really cool perspective hearing someone that like young, which I mean, you're not too terribly young, you're my age, but you know what I'm saying. Just hearing your success, but also hearing just like you and Savannah and so many people were so easy to connect with. And it's just really cool to hear people's success stories and how different they are, and how she lives in Arizona. Am I right? Arizona. Okay. And so you live like across the country, and just hearing and meeting new people, it's just so fun. So if you want to start us off with your story, and then I have a list of questions that I can ask you. Can you unmute yourself? If not, I will unmute you. Okay.
There we go. Hi. Okay. Hi, you guys. My name is Micaela. I am 25, so not terribly young, but I'm not terribly old either. I actually first started this business when I was 19 when I was first in it, and I actually left about a year and a half in. But I came back into my life. This has always been my home. I've belonged here since I came back, and I knew this is where I was meant to be, where I was meant to change lives, impact people, change my life, change and break generational curses. And I jumped back in when I was 23. Just 2.5 years ago. I had just dropped out of college for like a second time, literally 3 days before starting this. And my boyfriend had just lost his job the month prior. And so we were in a real financial rut, physically, like mentally, just everything was so rough. And we were just exhausted from living paycheck to paycheck. And both of us, well, I had been working full time since he had lost his job, and it was not enough income to substantially provide for both of us. So we were always borrowing money to have gas, have groceries, things like that. And so I was sick and tired of living that way. And so I took it up on starting this. I didn't have the money to start. I found a way to make it happen, borrowed some from family, and I got started. And within 2 months, I promoted Ruby. I decided full-time to quit my full-time job and pursue this full-time. And sometimes people think that's a risk, and like, sure, it was a risk because I wasn't making substantial income with this yet, but I would never regret that decision. If I were to do that again, like that would be, the whole plan again and over. Within 6 months later, I ended up going to Emerald. I was like kind of in a little rut for that 6 months, but all due to me and myself. I went Emerald. The month after, I went to Diamond, earned a $15,000 bonus, which this was just last year. 2 months later, I took my boyfriend's account Diamond and went to Double, and I earned another $15,000 bonus on his and $25,000 bonus on mine. So we accumulated a $50,000 bonus within 90 days. So I'm going to touch on that a little bit too here in our topics and stuff and conversation, because everything can change in 90 days within your business and time frame. Like everything starts from right now. We're going to 2022 soon. So whatever you have prepared for 2022, like start working for it now, because it all begins right now. All the work, all the hustle, all the momentum that's going to prepare you for what you will accomplish then in the beginning of the year. And then just this year, we went triple diamond. I built my mom's account to diamond in 60 days, and that's where we are. Yeah, that's pretty much my story.
Okay, I love what you said about it being like starting now into the new year. And we always know that like January, February, March, all those months are technically boom, but I can be really honest and say that this month, last month, the month before, I'm expecting next month to be the same, have been booms for me and my team. And so I don't sit here and say, oh, I can't wait till boom season. I'm like, no, I'm going to take action now, and then I'm going to see my work be blessed. And so if some of you are maybe in a situation where you're like, I want to feel that excitement in January, I want to feel that boom, I want to feel the work that I do now get paid off, start working today. And I'm sure you'll give plenty of tips on that, but we know in this business that you get paid 3 months, technically like 3 months behind. So like what you're doing now, you'll get paid for in January, February. I'm really,
the work you're putting in now, you're ultimately getting paid for later. It's residual income, you guys. Like, it's incredible. Like, I didn't know anything about residual income before this, and it literally is just so incredible. Like how 1 minute, like you can go from struggling to the next minute, literally being on top of the world and having financial stability with an opportunity like this. And so don't ever take it lightly, especially with this 4-in-1 and Christmas cash bonus, you guys. Like, it's seriously incredible. I'm about to earn mine this month and I'm so excited. It's just a miracle that we have an opportunity like this in our hands.
Absolutely. When the 4-in-1 came out, I'm going to be honest, I was a little bit nervous just because I'd been in this business 6 years and I'm like, was doing the same thing over and over again, which obviously you kind of have to rotate a little bit. And then when I came out with this, I was like shocked. And then I was like, holy crap, wait, this means like absolutely everybody gets to make money. Oh my gosh. And then you get endless bonuses and all that good stuff. Like anytime I have a new girl get started, I have my newbies on right now, like they're already making money instantly, and it's just such a freaking beautiful system. Like it's the best comp plan, it's the best situation, it's the best money changer. It's just amazing. So we will dive into tips, and you guys, if y'all want to ask any questions in the chat, we'll keep this chat like up and I can see this and I can keep tabs and see who else has questions. So if you have something going alongside with the questions that I'm asking, feel free to ask them in the chat and then I'll read them off. So these are in any type of order, so you can have a freelance and do whatever you want with them. But this one, the first one, is the biggest tips on branding yourself and what you've done to grow your following. Then I have a second question after that, but that will follow up with that. I've noticed, and if y'all don't follow her on social media, I follow her on social media. You're always consistent. You're the absolute cutest. Like you and your boyfriend, I'm pretty sure y'all dress up as like something for Halloween, and y'all's like TikTok and stuff like that. Yeah, like you're just cute, but you're consistent and you show your life and you're funny. Like it's really hot there, so you're always talking about the weather. Like I know what to expect when I go on your page, and you just do a really good job. And it doesn't seem like you're trying to be like anybody else. It literally just seems like you're trying to be you. You're authentically you and you're not apologizing for it. So how do you brand yourself, and like what have you found that works so well for you?
So this is going to be like, I mean, this goes for everyone, but especially newbies and stuff, because a lot of the times they struggle with branding themselves and like, how do I post? I'm supposed to like, you know, look like this person and do this as this person. That's not the case. Like 100% be yourself. Like I have a dog. I have dogs, multiple dogs, not just one. I have 4 dogs. So I'm a crazy dog mom. I'll claim it to the top of the roof. Yeah. And I'll talk about that all the time. So that's like one of my, you know, my things. Actually, if you look at it, it's like a 5-pillar thing. I think actually Morgan's talked about this too, probably with you guys, but it's a 5-pillar thing. So like I have my dogs. I love to go out to different restaurants. I love to travel. I love to spend time with my family. I don't even know what else I like to do, but I like to just, you know, be myself and just find other like inspirational things that I get to share with other people too, that it'll impact them. And that's just like who I am as my own personality. And so if you don't know what your 5 pillars are, write it down. Like it doesn't even have to be hobbies. It could be just like a characteristic. It could be something that you feel like people could relate to, and your story is so unique to other people, because maybe your story isn't like mine, maybe it's completely different, completely opposite, but that somebody else can relate to, and that's going to change them, that's going to help impact them and help them make decisions too, to come with you and join your team and things like that, or sign up and do the products. Just because you literally have a quote in your bio that says made for more or something like that, that's like something that I've had happen to me. Like I've had specific quotes in my bio, and people have literally related to those quotes, so that's why they continue to follow me, or like they, you know, join the business with me, or whatever it may be. It's simple things like that. But I just literally get clear about who I am, and I get loud about that on my stories, like cooking and traveling. I talk about it all the time. I know like Shay, she talks about her Taco Bell, things like that. Morgan talks about her dogs and her family that's growing and things like that. So look at what other leaders are doing too, like what they're specifically talking about all the time, and that can help you really rebrand yourself and create something to talk about for yourself, not just what they're talking about, but what you're talking about. And that's just really how I've gotten to learn how to be myself, and just branding myself is just watching other leaders and kind of mimicking what they're doing, but in my own way, if that makes sense. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's pretty much how I do it. And as far as growing, I Reels. It's just straight up Reels, TikTok. Like that's where it is. Like I got to the game late on TikTok and Reels on Instagram, but Facebook, they just launched that one. You guys get ahead of the game while you can. Post consistently on there. I probably post aside from this past week, but before, and starting back into it now, I've posted 3 to 4 on my Facebook Reels every single day, and I sporadically change the time frames because on Facebook it actually doesn't really matter what time you post it. I feel like if I had a lot post or a lot blow up in the morning, a lot blow up in the night, and it could literally even be the stupidest, silliest things in the world. Like I posted something about a TikTok trend, and it blew up to 1 million views, and it grew my following on Facebook by 500 plus, and it's growing every single day consistently. So get on those Reels because that's going to grow your Facebook and your Instagram. And if you're on TikTok, get on TikTok too, because there's a lot of trends on there that you can put to your Facebook and Instagram, and you don't have to do separate things for every single one.
Okay, I love absolutely all those tips. So one thing that I have a question for, because this is specifically for newbies. I know when I personally got started, I was like, what's the simplest thing? Because if you tell me all these different things, my mind's just going to go like haywire. So for someone who might be thinking, wow, this is a lot, like this is a lot more than I thought, or whatever it might be, because people are telling you to do TikToks, we'll do reels, do this, do host posts. What would you be your advice? Like, would it be to start just one platform? Would it just be to time out your day? Like, what would you specifically do? Or maybe what do you tell your newbies on how to get started with those things?
So I honestly have my newbies really start out with Facebook because of Host to Post. It's a great way to get customers. That's how I sign 90% of my customers is through Host to Post. So I have them connect with Facebook a little bit more, but they can still post, the same thing. This is what I did when I started. Everything I was doing on Facebook, I was doing on Instagram too with the posts and stuff. Maybe not necessarily growing the market as much, but or my network, but I was posting, and I was using my Instagram stories to post to my Facebook stories. And so that's kind of how I worked my business in the beginning, and how I teach my newbies to work their business. And then like even on their own, a lot of my newbies have started just doing reels on their own in the beginning, which is awesome. Usually I kind of like give it a good week or so to have them start incorporating the reels, so they kind of get, a handle on habits and doing their posts on Facebook and Instagram and things like that, and kind of getting that down, because I want them to be successful at one thing before we move to the next thing and have them have like scatterbrain about it all and whatnot. So that's pretty much what I do.
Yes, no, that's absolutely perfect. I would definitely say like conquer one thing, especially if you're new, because I always start my newbies off with Host to Post, and I think almost every single one of us is the exact same way, because Host to Post is like that is actually, I would say it's like 98% of the where people come from. Like I get people from Instagram too, but like Host to Post is just, I mean, I've literally already signed like 10 customers in the past few days, and it's just from Host to Post. So it's insane. Let me pull up my questions. So this one can go hand in hand with that, is how do you plan content? So I don't think that you have a different job. I think this is your only job, if I'm correct. Yeah. So how do you plan content maybe when you're like, well, no, I guess you had just said that Ruby plus you had done this business the whole time, but how do you plan content out?
Well, basically when I was working full time and planning out content, I would try to take a day that I was off to work on my content for the week, or the night before I would, do some work the night before, send out my messages, et cetera, and plan out my posts for the next day, because I did work an 8 to 5 schedule, and my commute for my job was an hour each way. So that was like 10 hours a day that I was driving and working. And then mid, lunch breaks, bathroom breaks, I would make sure I was pouring into my business then too, and planning my content, making a post, whatever it may be. So whatever time that you find in your, because we all have different schedules, obviously, whatever time you find it out, if you have to write out your schedule day by day to figure out what's going to be best for you on, planning your content, do that, because that's what I did, and it helped me out a ton. Now being home full time with this is actually a little bit trickier. It's a little bit trickier because I have a lot of time in my day now. Now I do get busy too, so I can sometimes put things off and I'll get a little lazy, but for me, I'm not like super strategic when it comes to planning. Now that I work full-time home, I kind of just throw things up, and if I see a post that somebody else has used, like a product post, for example, that we do like 3 posts a day for our team. I don't know if that's something you guys do, but if I throw up a little product post that I see somebody else is using, it's booming, I'm going to use that too. So I don't get really strategic as far as content planning, like, day by day. I kind of try to do it here and there, a few times out of the week for, those days, if that makes sense. And I'll take like one day out of the week to like really do my reels and my TikToks and Facebook reels and stuff like that, to have those planned out and whatnot.
Yeah, no, that's really helpful, and coming from a different perspective. Well, I guess kind of the same, because I do have a lot more time on my hands too. Like I don't have kids yet, and I do this full time. And I personally, like, Sunday nights we have our content planning Zooms, which you guys, if you're on Morgan's team and like you have not been on those yet, what are you doing? If you can't hop on, it's still posted on Dare to Be Diamond. They're so freaking helpful. But we prepare our content for the week as far as like posting wise. But as far as that goes, like I record my reels. I don't do them in batches only because I have more time on my hands. But when I was working a full-time job, which I did up until last year, I had to prepare everything. And so you have a lot more time than you probably think that you do, even if you're like, no, I literally work sun up to sundown. I'm busy. I'm crazy. I have kids going everywhere. You still have time, some way, shape, or form. You have time. You just have to figure out what's a priority, and you join this business for a reason. Why are you not making this a priority? You know, and I talk to so many people who are like, well, I love this business. I want this business. I want this business to work, but I'm also working this full-time job. And I'm like, do you plan to stay at that full-time job? And most of the answer is no, I want to do this business full-time, because you enter this business and you're like, I freaking love this business so much. I'm having fun. I want this to be my full-time job. Then why aren't you making a priority for it? Why aren't you waking up an hour earlier? And I remember when I worked a full-time job last year, and it was a very like time demanding job, and it was a lot. And so I had to wake up at like 5:30 and start my day. And I'm not a morning person, still not a morning person, but I did what I had to do, and we promoted to triple during that time. So I just know that like no matter what your schedule is, you can plan out content. And then going along, well, I guess this is completely different. But it says, I want to know her mindset. So this is kind of like a broad question, but maybe I can kind of ask this in a different way. So like, for instance, when you wake up in the morning, like if you're not feeling the greatest, I feel like all of us can wake up and say like, hey, we're not always going to want to do this business, or we're not always going to want to do the things every single day. How do you get into the mindset of like, okay, I'm ready to just freaking kill this day, like crush it? What's your mindset like?
So, you know, like you said, I mean, every day could be different. And I'll be real, like this morning, I didn't wake up in like the best mindset whatsoever. Yeah, and I had like a little bit of anxiety and just like a little bit of frustration. And it happens, and I really didn't want to work today, but I was like, okay, you know what? I am working on getting this Christmas cash bonus. There's a reason I do this business. I have to show up. I have to show up for myself, my family, and my team, of course, because they watch me every single day. And so I have to remind myself of those things. Or even if you don't have a team too, like show up for yourself and show up for your future team, because there's people who are watching you, and we are consistent every single day. They watch that. They see that magic happen. But I just literally had to snap myself out of it. I'm like, look, this is not, we got to change pace here. So I got ready, got a little bit cute, felt a little bit better, and I went ham and I started working on my haps, and I got 30 haps posted today. So that's kind of like my thing. I just had to quickly try to cut myself out of it and just mentally note that I am struggling with this, but and overcoming it, but you know, I can't allow it to control me and make decisions for me.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. And one thing I'll comment on that too is like, I've personally told my team this over and over and over again. If you're a mom, if you're a college student, no matter what type of person you are, you're constantly pouring out during the day, whether you feel like it or not. So if you're not taking your mind seriously and waking up and being like, okay, first thoughts, even if they're not like the best, you know, you're not in best headspace, why wouldn't you wake up and be like, okay, I'm going to pour into me for 5 seconds, even if it's just pouring me a cup of coffee. You guys, I told someone this the other day and they thought I was crazy. It was like 30 degrees outside, and I just like love the cold, so I went and poured my coffee and just sat outside, and it was raining too. Like I'm like over here like getting pounded by raindrops, and it just like felt good to me because I just needed to wake myself up, and I was like, like this is like my moment of just silence to myself. And if you can't do that, then like think of all the times that you maybe run to the bathroom or you're going to get ready. Figure out something that is going to pour into yourself before you start pouring out. And especially if you're a mom, all your energy is getting drained during the day, some shape or form. Why would you not sit there and pour into yourself and get that headspace right? I don't look at my phone first thing in the morning, but if you're someone who you kind of have to, because you have to look at your alarm or you have to do certain things on your phone. I don't know, everybody's schedule is different. Then make a note of it, set a timer on your phone. There's actually an app called it's called I Am, and it's like giving you positive affirmations right when you wake up. You can set the timer of like what time of the day you need those. I used that especially last year when I was working a full-time job, because I needed those little reminders, especially when I was having such a stressful job, to just tell myself, okay, I am this, set my head space right. So hopefully that helps answer y'all's questions. Did you want to answer anything else on that one?
No, I was just say that's literally me. I feel like we're the same person. That's literally me. I don't like to spend my like first 30 minutes on my phone the first thing in the morning. I feel like it just puts me in not such a good space. And like mentioning books and too while we're on it, like this is one that it's the Unshakable, it's devotionals, and I love this book so much. I love it, and it gets me out of like my headspace so quick beyond. And I swear every time I open up for the new day that I read this, because it's a day by day, it's 365 devotions for the year. It literally just like, I don't know, it hits the right spot. So that's what I do too in the morning is I either read that and drink my coffee, or I'll do some journaling, just kind of get those thoughts out there. Journaling helps a ton too by putting it on paper rather than bottling it up. It'll make you feel 10 times better.
If you're on my team, you already know I talk about journaling 24/7. I'm obsessed. I journal more than any person should. It's like amazing. It's just really helped me mentally. So definitely, if she said, can you put the offer?
Yeah, I'll put it in there right now.
I need to get that for sure. And if y'all don't have like a personal development routine, get with your leader, get with your enroller, get with whoever you need to ask them about personal development. But I can tell you just from personal experience, from the times that I've been like in the lowest or darkest places, personal development was the one thing that was just my saving grace. And we all know that like mental health is just so important. I'm just huge on that. Like I think that taking care of yourself, it leaks into all other areas of your life. So if you're not doing good mentally, how do you expect to thrive in other areas, you know? And if you do thrive in other areas, even though you're struggling mentally, it won't last long. And I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer, it's just how it is. So make sure that you're pouring into yourself and figuring out ways to do that. So this is, let's see. This is a question, and it says, how do you feel like you show up differently? And I don't know, again, this is kind of broad, but you could probably, this could go towards like, how do you think you show up differently than the others who maybe aren't making as much money as you, or that aren't as successful as you? Because I know that we talked about figures, we talked about money, we talked about things when we met, and the amount, and obviously this business isn't all just about money, but the money aspect is a beautiful thing. I was surprised, like my jaw dropped. I was like, oh my gosh, you're successful. I love it. Like, I want to be around people like you. So what do you feel like sets you apart from the ones who maybe aren't making that much? Or, I don't know, that hopefully that question makes sense.
Yeah, it does. So, I mean, and it's just, it really comes down to the grit, determination, and just knowing what I want, getting super clear about my vision, my goals, my dreams that I want. And that's what's kept me, I feel like, just going long, the longevity of everything. But also like I've been obsessed from like the day one of me starting this business. I have gotten obsessed, and even like making my decision day from when I was a Ruby for 6 months and then going Emerald, from that moment on, really, it was really then that I really got obsessed with this business and obsessed with the results of being successful. And I think that's what kind of led me to where I am, because I worked a lot. I did work a lot to get where I am. And I paid off, and it really does. When you put in the work to this business, it pays you off in a grand way. It's kind of insane. But that's really what it came down for me, is I became super obsessed with it. Like I was talking about my goals every single day. I was getting loud about it. I was sharing my story. I was showing other people's story. I was talking about where we're going to be in the next couple of years and things like that. And that really, truly, I think sets the pace for other people who are watching you, because even if you're not anywhere where you want to be right now with the business, like I wasn't anywhere I wanted to be over a year ago with the business. People love the growth. They love the consistency of growth and where you start. And especially if you have people from now that are watching you and watching where you'll be in a year, they are obsessed with that stuff. That's what I got obsessed with, is just the growth of where I want to be and who I want to be. And I just got nitty gritty about that. So I think that's kind of one of the things that set me apart. And just, I've had this never give up attitude ever since I started this business, because it's my second time with it. And the first time I was with it, I only went to Ruby, and I was like, you know what, if I'm going to go into this business, I'm going to go all in. I'm going to go 100% in. I'm not going to give up. I'm going to be here for like 10 plus whatever years, be a black diamond one day. That's where I see longevity with this business. And if you're starting this business and you start for the extra income, that's great. But if you really want to make the grander type of income, as a triple diamond or above, whatever income that you want to make up like that, it is going to take a mindset of being here longevity wise, and just a bigger vision, a bigger hunger for more, and to help other people too. Because at the end of the day, like the income too is incredible, especially like being a triple diamond and up. But the other thing that kind of excites me is the fact that one day I'm going to have a girl on my team who's a triple diamond, making over, 5 figures a month, being able to pay off some debt, buy our first home, things like that. That gets me so excited too. And I think that's one of the other reasons why I've stuck so long with this, is just to help other people. Like, I truly believe 100% that God put me in this position to impact other people. Growing up, like I knew that I was meant to live a life of more, because the way I grew up, I was super poor. We didn't have a lot. We were homeless a couple times, and there's a lot of other stuff. But I knew that my life was meant to be so much grand and bigger. And I didn't believe in God before, but somehow he was working in my life at a young age, and he knew where I was meant to be. I used to want to be like an actress or a model because I was able to impact amounts of large people. And the fact that I'm in a business where I can do the same thing, like, that's incredible to me. That's where I like connected that vision, was the fact that God like put that vision in my heart at a very young age. So that's kind of what it is for me.
I love that perspective. And you're not the first person that I've heard that is like, yeah, I didn't believe in God. I didn't believe in anything. And then this is like, just this came about. It's like eye-opening. It's crazy. You hear it all the time. And like, obviously we're a Christian-based company, but when you hear perspectives like that, and there was the last Zoom I hosted for this team was when I interviewed Ashley. Can't think of her last name right now. I totally want to say something different. I don't know, Fluger. And she was talking about like the biggest thing that has come from it is like her leading other people to God and just things like that. And so when I hear testimonies like that, it just gives me chills every time, because it's just amazing. So, and I personally know what it's like to sit here and think about the longevity of things, because I can tell you guys, Dallas actually gave me this advice not too long ago. He is a physical therapist. He's in a completely different field, but they do like obviously a lot of research and stuff. And one thing we were talking one day when I was getting really down on myself because I wasn't exactly where I wanted to be, and he said that burnout comes from when people set too big of goals in such a small amount of time, because you chase after it, you chase after it, you chase after it, you don't hit it, and then you think that you're a failure. And I can tell you from personal experience, I've done that too many times to myself, to where I've sat there and I'm like, oh, I'm going to make $1 million in 2 days. And it's just like, no, like, who has actually ever done that? Like, nobody. Like, you can't do that. Maybe you can. I don't freaking know. Like, what for the only
Gotta be superwoman for that.
what?
So you gotta be superwoman for that.
Yeah, like, I don't freaking know. Like, it's just crazy. But I just want you to know that it's okay to think of the big goals, but think about the longevity of things. So think about, instead of you thinking, okay, well, if I make $600 this month, I'll be happy. Think about if you make $100 each month, and then that equals up in 6 months to $600. Like, what's that going to do for you? What's that going to do for your mindset? How is that going to change your perspective? Like, what is that personally going to do for you? And so if you're sitting here and you're like, well, I want to do this, I want to do this, I want to do this, but you haven't set smaller goals along the way to make that happen, how do you expect to get there? How do you expect to celebrate the small wins? And you're not going to face burnout. You're not going to face the problems of what people face if they, like I said, I've been this person where I'm like, oh, I'm going to do this, I'm going to shoot after this, and then when I don't reach it, I'm like, oh crap, I suck, I'm a failure, I'm hard on myself, and I'm the hardest person on myself. Like Morgan, I talk to Morgan all the time, she knows that, and it's because of that. So this is totally off topic, but if you're someone who is setting such big goals for yourself, remind yourself of the little things along the way. And I think that this is so valuable. And I think it's probably repeated a million times, but sometimes it just takes that like 1,000,001 time for you to actually hear it. So make sure that you're setting those smaller goals too, but think about the longevity of things, like where you want to be at in 6 months. A new girl that I was helping today on my team, that was the question I asked her for her to make a post was, hey, like, where do you see yourself in 6 months? Like, where do you see yourself in 12 months? Not just right now. And that gives people a vision, because some people are just waiting for you to catch that vision before they follow you. And something I was going to ask you, this isn't a question, but this is a question that I personally have, so hope maybe someone else has it. When you set goals, like, do you set money goals, or do you kind of like set different goals, and you just kind of like, do you chase the money, I guess, in that aspect? Or do you have these goals where you're like, oh, I'm going to make it this amount this month, I'm going to make it happen? What do you do around like your money mindset?
So yes, and I have like so many different. I have different goals as far as I have those many goals. Like I want to have a $50,000, savings account someday, like in the next, couple of years. Like that's my goal. Maybe half of it next year, and then the year after, then another half. So, something like that, breaking it up basically into smaller pieces, because like you said, you can't expect to make such a huge goal in a short amount of time, because it just is going to give you a burnout feeling, and you're going to feel like you're not accomplishing anything, and you feel like you're a failure. But like I have my dream board right here. If you guys don't make a dream board, you've got to make one. It's so crucial. But I have mine right here, and like I have things like that, money, income goals. But I think in the beginning that wasn't. I mean, it kind of was, but it wasn't really my motivator. A lot of it too, because I was. I don't know if you guys know color personalities. I'm like a yellow. I started out as a yellow blue when I started the business, and so I was very eager also to help other people. But then as I got further into the business, longer into the business, I kind of got more red and stuff. And so it kind of like is a toss up. It's in the middle of that. So sometimes I chase the money. Sometimes I'm chasing to help other people earn the money. It's things like that. So it's never the same. It always fluctuates for me anyways.
Yeah, that's super helpful. I heard not too long ago, someone was like, just chase the money. Like, not like be like super money hungry to where that's all you think about, but it was more in like, instead of sitting here putting so much pressure on yourself to hit this rank by this time, just chase the money. And then that's going to follow. And with this new 4-in-1 system, you're able to do that more organically anyways. And so it's just like a beautiful concept. And if you've not gotten a dream board, you guys, let's see if you can see it. I know I have to turn my brightness down too. I have one on my phone, and you can make it whatever background you want, but there's just like so many different things. So I'll wake up every day and I see it, and it's things that aren't even business related. It's things that like lose weight, go on a trip with the family, hire a personal trainer, make this commitment for 30 days, whatever. And there are things that I keep crossing off, and let me just tell you, when you cross them off, even if it's the smallest things, like I remember one of the things was just work out 15 minutes a day for 30 days. And I did that, and I was like, cross off, like I was so proud of myself. So it can be whatever it is that you want, but that's going to prove to yourself that you can do the things that you set your mind to. And this is what I tell people all the time in my business, and our team especially, is especially if you're someone who struggles with consistency, you need to stop breaking promises to yourself. And again, this is off topic again, but it's fine. You need to prove to yourself that you can do something consistent. You need to prove to yourself that you can actually keep a promise to yourself. So with that being said, why wouldn't you make a dream board of these smallest little things? I know when I was exercising, when I first started exercising, which has been a full year now, and that has never happened a day in my life, I was like, I absolutely hate exercising, but I know that I have this vision of how I want to feel and how I want to look. And so I committed to 15 minutes a day for 30 days straight. 15 minutes. And that didn't even have to be like hardcore exercise. That was literally just me walking. Okay. Like actually just casually walking. That didn't even get your heart rate up. Okay. That doesn't do anything for you for 15 minutes. It doesn't do anything for you. And so I had to prove to myself that I could do that. Then the 30 days after that, I was like, okay, I'm going to bump it up to 30. I'm still not going to do exercise. I'm just going to walk. Okay. And I started doing that. And I promise you, it like brings different neural pathways in your mind. And there's like actual scientific studies on this. I'm going to butcher it, so I'm not going to tell you all the scientific studies. But it creates new neural pathways in your mind to teach yourself and show yourself that you can actually do something that you set your mind to. So why would you not do that on your dream board? It doesn't have to be like, oh, make $20,000 this month, and if I don't do it, I'm a failure. No, it can literally just be something that small. Prove to yourself that you can be consistent, because that's what success is in this business. And some people are like, consistency isn't fun, it's not attractive. I get it, I totally do, but I can tell you from the end result of being consistent and being on the other side, it feels so good when you can wake up and be like, I didn't break a promise to myself yesterday, I'm doing good, pat on my back, So I hope that correlates with someone, and someone needed to hear that, because so many people break promises to themselves over and over and over again. And it's just that one thing that you need to prove to yourself that you can do. So that's with the setting goals and dream board and everything. And then another question, this is not correlated with any of what we just spoke about, but how do you inspire your team? And I know most people use the word motivate too. So like, which I know a lot of people hate the word motivate. So you can, how do you inspire your team?
I kind of like that you said that was motivate. I don't like the word motivate either because, I mean, if you're using the term motivate, it's kind of like a load of baloney. You can never motivate somebody. You can only inspire people and impact them. And that's going to, lead them to make the changes they need to make. But how I inspire my team, it would just be simply showing up every single day consistently, getting my tasks done every single day, showing up on my stories, showing up on my posts, claiming my goals, getting loud about those things, and just really talking to them and being transparent and having that communication with them too, because as a leader, you kind of have to have that vulnerability sometimes with some of them, with your team, so that they know that, like, I mean, this is a business. Let's just get real with that. Like, it's gonna have fluctuating moments, and you're gonna have moments where you're really low, and you're gonna have moments where you're really high. And I think that's one thing that's helped me with my team, is just being transparent and showing them where I started. Like, we all obviously start from ground zero, and I always send to my team, I send them my old past lives that I did when I first started the business, and showing them, because some of them were scared to do lives, and I'm like, look, this is where I was when I first started doing it too. We all start somewhere, but know that you can grow. And my lives honestly aren't even that much different now, but like, that shows them that, you will get more comfortable the more consistently you do them or do the things. And that kind of, I hope it would help inspire them. At least it does. They say it does. So that's pretty much where I'm at. And then just like, again, doing the task lead to enrollments and stuff. And so that also can inspire them, is me showing up with enrollments and stuff leading from the front.
Yeah, and something that if you are on Morgan's team, Micaela, I don't know if you invited your team or not. I don't have like the full view, so that's why I keep like referring back to Morgan's team. But if you have like are on Morgan's team, and honestly, Savannah, I mean, Savannah is your leader too. Like, one thing you will completely respect is that Morgan is always going to lead from the front. She's never going to tell you, and I can personally say, like, I've learned this trait from her to where now I've adopted it. And so I will never personally tell my team to do something if I'm not doing it myself. I will not sit here and be like, hey, go enroll this if you haven't seen me enroll it myself. And so I genuinely think in order to inspire people, you have to make an impact in your own life first. Why would you sit here and follow someone that's like, hey, go do this? And then like, it's kind of like, this is the one thing that used to piss me off all the time. Okay. When we were in freaking college, or when we were in college and when we were in high school, I always had like heavier set coaches, and there's nothing wrong with being heavier set, but they would literally be sitting on like the bench not doing anything, and then they'd be like, hey, go run 50 miles. And I'm like, I can't do that. And they're like, yeah, you can. I'm like, can you at least like do it with me? Can you at least? And then I remember I had a coach who ran with us, and that was the most inspiring and empowering thing. And that was actually the year that like I was like, I can do this, I can run this. And none of y'all like know my running ability. I suck at running. Okay, I'm very, very slow. It's not, no, I just suck at it. And so when that coach decided to sit there and run with me and run with us, that made a huge difference. So just think about that next time. Think about you being that person sitting there and just being like, hey, this person should really go make some money with me, but then you're not doing anything. You cannot expect to make an impact. Like, you just can't. If you're being someone who is like showing up one day a week on your story and showing one day a week on your page, and then, or maybe you show up for 2 weeks straight and then you're a ghost for 3 months, you cannot expect to make like a difference. I'm so sorry to say that, but that's what takes in this business, is to be consistent. You're going to hear it a billion times and you'll hear it a million more times. It's just how it is. It's that simple. And I like listen to a lot of different podcasts. I listen to a lot of different YouTube videos. I listen to a lot of things every single day to pour into myself. And the one thing that people always go back to is they're like, what got you to here? And they're like, consistency. They're like, I didn't kill myself working 24 hours a day. There are some, like, a lot of stories like that, but for the most part, they're like, I just decided to be consistent. And then obviously when they failed, they got back up again. And so I just think that a lot of people need to hear that. And if you are this person that's like, you know what, I really want to be consistent, again, go prove to yourself that you cannot break a promise to yourself for at least 30 days straight. And I promise you it'll make a difference. So anyways, with that, so you're really amazing at signing distributors. You're really good at just, I feel like, everything, just from watching you and just from meeting you. But I personally sign basically all my distributors up through host to post, and just obviously from being consistent and sharing my story and making those connections. I don't know if you're different, but what is your advice on that? Or like, what specifically do you do? Because
So
you're a master distributor, right? like you would consider yourself a mass
So
distributor?
back to like being the transparent, like I am a triple diamond leader, but I did lose my triple back in May and I haven't gotten it back, but I've always still been consistent. So I was in a like a low valley of my business. So I also want you guys to take that into consideration too. Like I was saying, we all go through valleys in our business, no matter where we are. And I have been in a valley, but I'm digging myself out of that and pulling myself together. And that's changed. And so like my enrollments have been better in the last couple of months because of that. But typically, yeah, I would say like I am normally a distributor enrolling person. And where I get them from is Haps. I've been getting them from Instagram as of lately too, which has been awesome. And then Reels has been blowing up a little bit for me too. So I'll be getting them a little bit from Reels here and there. And then just building that relationship, staying consistent, telling my story, sharing my life, sharing the things that I have accomplished with this business, or just like the confidence it's given me. Like I talk about that a lot in the friendships too, because that's a lot of the times, I mean, as women, we kind of need that stuff. Like we look for that stuff. And a lot of the times too, I see is that people will follow people who know where they're going. So if you're talking about your goals every single day and like all those other things, like that's going to that's going to inspire people to jump in with you because you know exactly what you're doing, where you're going. I don't care how silly your dream or your visions seems to you, like talk about it every single day. Right now I'm working on bringing my boyfriend home. I almost said fiance, but we're not even engaged, but we'll get there eventually, hopefully. But no, like we're working on bringing him home soon, like in the next 3 to 6 months. Like that's our goal. And I'm talking about that all the time because that's a huge goal for us to accomplish. And I know I'm talking to so many people about their spouses, them working and them wanting to bring them home too because of that. And so just kind of like speaking it into existence and like talking about those things, it has been really good for me and being consistent with that. And even people who didn't jump in with me like when I first started or have been watching me like the first time I started like 4+ years ago, they have been watching since then and are jumping with me now because they saw me make an impact. They saw me make the change within my life and I got serious about it and I didn't play around and treat this as a hobby. I just got real deep and like nitty gritty with it and I got to work. And so I didn't play around. And so they saw that and they wanted to be a part of that. So it's things like that too that will play into your enrollments, whether it's customer or distributors.
Yes, I completely agree with everything that you said. And with like the speaking about like knowing where you're going. So if you're someone you're like, to be honest, I just joined to make some gas money. That was me 100%. Like I just wanted to make gas money and I made that fairly quickly. If you don't know my story, Micaela, I'm so sorry. I would have explained my story because I just didn't look to see if your team was on, just because I have it on a different view. But I personally did not even promote to executive until a year into this business. And it wasn't because of this business. It was genuinely my own efforts. I was like, oh, I'm making $100 just from signing all these customers. Like, I'm good. Like I'm fine. Like keep them on all my top line. Didn't even know I could move them, like all the good stuff. And Morgan's like, hey, are you ever going to work? And I'm like, I'm good. I didn't even promote into executive, which executive is technically like your first rank in this business, until a year later. And then 6 months after that, it took me 6 months to go Ruby. So like and then now here I am, and not just like me personally, but our team is triple diamond and we're shooting for presidential and we're doing all these things. I'm debt free. I'm able to do these things. And it was because once I caught the vision from Morgan, which Morgan, I've watched her since day one, like she knew where she was going. And then I kind of got FOMO. I saw her like being so successful where I was just making $100 and I was okay with that for a little bit. And then I saw her dreaming bigger and bigger and bigger. And I was like, oh dang, I need to catch up. Like I need to start dreaming bigger. Like, hey, what do I want? And you start thinking about it. So if you're just joining for something super small like that, don't be like, oh, I don't have a story to tell. Baby, some people can't even, like there are so many times where people, I mean, I get asked this, like not too long ago, I got asked this from a woman that doesn't even live near me. But she asked me for gas money on Facebook and she was just trying to drive her daughter home from school and didn't have the gas money. So like, just think about the gas money impact that you could make just by sharing, saying, you guys, I joined this business just for gas money and I'm already making that, or I'm planning to make that, and just speak about that and figure out where you're going. And then I promise you, when you do that, when you make it happen, more visions are going to come along and you're going to catch the FOMO from other people around you dreaming big, which obviously if you have not been like, if you are someone who has not grown your circle, you'll realize that our community in this business is absolutely incredible anyways. Like if you had to take everything away from me, I would just say, you know what, you can have the money back, but don't take away the community from me. I love these people. Is make sure to surround yourself with people who are dreaming bigger and don't feel like you are like bothering people by messaging them saying, hey, you're inspiring me. I just wanted to ask you a few questions or whatever. That's how you get to know people, and that's how you get to grow your circle. So make sure you're doing that so you can dream bigger and have the capacity to dream bigger. It's so helpful when you start to do that. And then one thing that I was going to ask, this is another question that had the team question, but I skipped it on accident. It says, how does she do anything uniquely to rally your team, especially going into the boom season technically, but ending this year? I personally would love to hear your tips or like how you are getting everybody excited. Like obviously the 4-in-1, the Christmas cash, being loud about that, but is there anything specifically you're doing to rally up your team?
I mean, just talking about those things every single day and like talking about where you could be in the next 90 days, but you need to start doing the things now in order to get where you want to be, by January. If you want to promote to double diamond by February, March, whatever it may be, like make sure that you're starting that work now. And then like we're doing power hours. I don't know if you guys do that, but power hours are a thing for our team. And I love them because I get to connect with my girls. Sometimes they're training power hours. Sometimes they're power hours where we just sit, listen to music, and we work together. And what I actually do, and actually have been doing for like the last month, is I'll hook my phone up to my computer with a little cord, and I'll screen record my phone so they can see me working. And I feel like that's really impacted my team, having them watch me work from my phone and actually seeing me do the work. And it's kind of like just kind of changed the momentum, the pace, the work ethic for them as well. So I've loved doing that for the past month that we've been, doing the screen recording thing, but we've been doing power hours forever, and they are seriously amazing. If you guys don't do them, definitely do them, even with your own team, just to kind of like create that bond. It's so incredible to have that bond with your team and get to know them and who they are, what their goals are, what inspires them, and then just there for an hour.
Yes, absolutely. I was gonna ask you this too, and this is kind of going back to when you had mentioned your story, because I'm just super curious, because obviously everybody's journey is different. And if y'all have questions about like me specifically not promoting to executive until a year later, like if y'all have been in this business and maybe you're like stuck at a rank or you haven't promoted yet and you've been in here like only 2 days and you're like, I see everybody else promoting, but I'm not promoting, like sis, you have your time ready. I promise you. Like if I could like sit here and tell you how many times I've compared, but then I've just been like, nope, just because they just promoted and they've been in the business like, 6 years less than I have, it's fine. Like I'm here because I'm here. Like I have a purpose. And so when you had mentioned that you stayed at Ruby for longer than had like expected, can you tell and maybe give like a piece of advice for people who are in that situation or who are maybe going to go through that situation? Like what's something that you learned through that time?
So when I had promoted Ruby, and I don't know why, I honestly don't even know why I quit my job. I kind of just felt the gut feeling to do it. I also didn't love my job, so that was kind of partly due, and it was like not the best of environments. But at the same time, I wasn't anywhere financially set with the business, and so when I quit, maybe I don't know, I guess I thought I was gonna be a hot shot and go like diamond by October or something. I don't know. I think that was my thought process in the initial thing, but then I didn't realize the work ethic behind it would take to go to diamond by October, because it was July that I had quit my job, and I promoted to Ruby. I think, yeah, that was when I promoted to Ruby. So I think I just kind of got in my head and stuff and thought I was a little too, special, and that I didn't have to do, as much work or something like that. And so if that might be you might want to check yourself a little bit. But I had to check myself, 6 months being into it, and just remember why I started this. Like I need to get serious about it. Like this is not a game for me. Like I'm 23 years old. I want to do these things. I want to buy a house. Like at the time I was living with my mom, me, my boyfriend were, and a bunch of other family members. And it was like a freaking zoo, and I absolutely like was so depressed, and I just wanted to change that. And I had a talk with one of my mentors, and her name's Evelyn, and she kind of just put it out for me like, you can go pick up another job, because we were struggling a little bit, even with me earning a couple $100 Ruby check every single month. And she's like, you be honest with yourself, you got to either go pick up another job or you can make this business work, but you need to like really decide what you want, like where you want to go with this. And it just came with that conversation. It kind of came to me that I really needed to make that decision to go all in again. And it was my actual decision day, and it was in December. And I was like, you know what, you're right. Like, I don't even know what I'm doing, why I'm like wasting this time, and like, feeling bad for myself almost, not being where I want to be, but it's my fault that I wasn't where I wanted to be. And so I took that accountability. It's all about taking accountability, took my responsibility of my business, and I did the work. I got really, really hungry. And again, it's not there's some days that you don't want to do the work. Some days you want to sit down and watch TV. I had to break that habit and stop watching TV and sacrifice things that I liked that weren't benefiting me anything. So that's what I did to kind of get out of that and just change my path essentially to focus on where I wanted to go. And then I went and enrolled at conference, and it was so much fun. It was exciting, and then so on and so forth.
Yes, and something that I'll mention really quickly is talking about like you said that you had to stop watching Netflix, and you had to make the decision first, and then you had to commit to the things that you wanted to in order for you to get the future that you wanted. I can tell you, like, from experience, I love me some Netflix. I love me some TV. Like, I just grew up watching TV. Like, that was like a bonding time for my family and I, and some people are like, ew, absolutely not. Love TV. Like, Dallas and I, huge movie fanatics. Like, we literally, when we have a house, we're gonna have a full room with movies. Like, it's gonna be movie themed and everything. That's how much we were obsessed with it. So I had to like really dive deep, and I'm like, okay, well, obviously I don't get paid from watching TV, so how are we gonna do this? And so I treated myself. So like, if ever, and I still treat myself, like, I watch a show, I'll watch an episode after I did an hour's work because I need to take a break from work anyways, whatever. So if you're in that space where you're like, I still want to live my life, I still want to do these things, but I know that I need to make a commitment to this business, why don't you start making like treats for yourself? Like, when you do this, then you get this reward. I know so many people do this. It's like, when before they make themselves a cup of coffee, they go send like 25 messages or something like that to reward yourself. Again, show yourself that you can do it. It's that simple, and it's really not that hard. It's just making that decision. Morgan was literally stealing the words out of my mouth because I was just about to say D-Day. Make that decision and make it then, and then realize, okay, this is what I'm going to do. And guess what, you guys? Here's a tip. You're probably going to fail. You're probably going to fall back into those same patterns that do not serve you. And guess what? That is okay, because we are human. And so you can forgive yourself, and you can give yourself grace now to let yourself know that if you fall back into the same rut, because I have done so well personally with my mindset, with me figuring out what exactly I want, with me just really having time with Jesus in the morning and not picking up my phone and wanting to message back all the messages. I've really given myself like pure time of just like, okay, I'm really doing good. And then sometimes I'll fall back into the same mindsets or the same old habits. And then I'm just like, you know what? It's fine. You're human. I get back up, and then I do it again. And then I sit there and I'm like, okay, I can conquer this day. So if you do fall and you fell and you're like, oh, well, I just went and binge watched 20 hours of Netflix. Okay, well, now you know not to do that next time. And did it serve you? In the moment it did, but then you're going to feel like crap after. And so you're going to remember that feeling, and then you're not going back to it. So it is a trial and error thing. It really, really is. It's just a learning experience. And that just goes back with the breaking your promises to yourself. I remember, and then we can end this, but like, I specifically remember hearing are you tired of breaking promises to yourself? And it was from Jay Shetty podcast. If you don't listen to his podcast, you guys, it is fire. His book also is super good. It's what Kami Pentecost recommended, and it has just been absolutely incredible. It's the Monk, Think Like a Monk. It's really, really good. But that was like one thing out of the entire podcast that I remember, and it said, are you tired of breaking promises to yourself? And I was like, ugh. And I was like working out in the gym, and it literally hit me in my soul, and I was like, oh. And so I have that on a sticky note. So maybe you need to have that on a sticky note on your mirror, on your wall, wherever it is. I have it on a sticky note in my bathroom, in my desk. I have it in a lot of different places that I'm like, stop breaking promises to yourself today. Go do what you told yourself you're going to do. And I promise you, for the past 30 days, I've done so good. And the feeling you get when you do that is amazing. So maybe you need to do this with your business. Maybe you need to do it with your health. Maybe you need to do it with the products that you're taking, because we all know that we need to be a product of the products. Anyways, whatever it is, stop breaking promises to yourself and go out and conquer the day and make that decision to be the best version of yourself. Make sure to sit here and tell yourself, okay, what goals am I setting? Not too high, not too low, right in between. What am I going to do? And go ask your enroller, tell her what you want, tell her what your vision is, and then I promise you she'll help you go and get that. Micaela, is there anything else that you want to say, any piece of advice you want to leave, anything before we end this? Because I know that this is, which my computer time is different. Okay, we're right on time. Is there anything that you want to end with?
Yeah, actually, so kind of ties into what you were saying, the last topic we were talking about and stuff, and breaking promises and whatnot. What kind of went also hand in hand with my decision day too is that nobody else, and this goes for you guys 100%, it goes for everybody. Nobody is gonna get you the life that you want more than yourself. Like, you need to make sure that you, again, dig deep about what you want, get hungry about it, and remember that nobody else is, there's no rescue coming, there's no prayer that's just gonna magically like answer your prayers. You are simply the answer to your prayers. You get to choose where your life is in the next 60 days, 90 days, a year from now, but you have to make that decision that you are capable of doing that and more. And so that's the last thing I kind of just wanted to add.
Absolutely. And it just goes back to breaking the promises. Like, you are going to be the one that changes that. And so if you're someone who's not happy with where you're at, 1000% understand. That's why last year, fully a year ago, it's like a year and 2 months ago, I finally made the decision to be consistent in my business and I'd been in this business 5 years. So I was just like, okay, something got to give, girl. Like, you're making money, you're doing good, but like, if you want to go to like the levels, you need to make a decision. And that was my due day. And I specifically remember it. It was September 1st. So it was completely just mind blowing. And so, just make sure to just have that perspective next time you're going to do something. So thank you so freaking much. Let me stop this recording.